I would like to talk about Akira Toriyama. He's the creator of Dragon Ball, but he did so much more than that, and sadly, he passed away in March of this year, and his death has kind of had huge ripple effects, not just in Japan and the anime industry, but internationally, and he was such an important storyteller that I thought it would be important to just shine a light on some things you might have not known about him, his influences, and just the mark he's left on the world of animation at large. So, to begin with, Akira Toriyama, he's kind of seen as Japan's Walt Disney or Stan Lee, like that's the level of prolificness that he's brought to the table. He himself was inspired by Osamu Tezuka of Astro Boy fame, but also 101 Dalmatians from Walt Disney was a big inspiration for him. So it's kind of neat that he was someone that had international intentions going into things, like he wasn't just someone that only focused on other manga. Another influence that came to him is Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee films like Drunken Master and Enter the Dragon were big touchstones for kind of the stories he told. And even later on in life, he became really fascinated with science fiction, like Alien and even Galaxy Quest, the parody film, were really big influences on him. And if you look at some of his later work, like Jocko the Galactic Patrolman, that sci-fi riffing nature is very much front and center. So Dragon Ball is Akira Toriyama's biggest claim to fame, but he was creating stories for close to 50 years. Dr. Slump was kind of his first big series. It's about like a girl robot named Arale who just gets into hijinks in Penguin Village with her like scientist surrogate father figure, and Dr. Slump is like a gag comedy. It's really silly, it's fun, it's crossed over with Dragon Ball on a number of occasions, and even there's one of the best episodes of Dragon Ball Super, in my opinion, is an episode where Arale kind of invades the show and turns it into a stealth Dr. Slump episode. It's so silly, and Dr. Slump didn't necessarily, like, it had hundreds of episodes, but it didn't connect on a huge Dragon Ball level, and it would be really fascinating to see somebody take that show now and do more with it, whether they're adapting the manga or just telling new stories in that universe. But there's so much more that you could do with Dr. Slump, and it's just a really fun property. And some of the other series that Akira Toriyama made that were like one-shots or smaller things, he did a series called Pink, which is about like a barren wasteland where there's no water, and this thief named Pink is kind of stealing water from a corrupt military and giving it to the masses. This is obviously like a theme that Toriyama has returned to on more than one occasion. Sandland gets into the same material. He did another series called Kawa, which was about like a bunch of child monsters that are trying to get a medicine to cure their town of a deadly flu. Kajika is a story about this mischievous boy who kills an innocent fox and is cursed to be a fox, half-fox creature for 1,000 years, unless he can save 1,000 souls. And that gets into some really interesting ideas as well. There's another series called Go-Go Ackman, which is about just a demon who harvests souls. And what's interesting between all of these series, a through line that you might not recognize, is that they all speak to the idea that anyone can be a hero, especially these underdog, unexpected figures. And it's easy to forget that even like Dragon Ball was interested in that. When Dragon Ball started, it was just a story about like a weird boy with a monkey tail that's going from town to town helping people out. Like before Goku kind of became this invincible Superman-like figure, it was very much just, it started with gay comedy influences. It was much more aligned with Dr. Slump before it became this action spectacle. And Toriyama was he really cared a lot about not taking his works too seriously, that nothing was too sacred. Like even Dragon Ball, when it would get into death and like the end of the universe, it still would have a very lighthearted tone a lot of the time. And that's really important, and I think something that Toriyama really excelled at, and it's a fitting touchstone of his work considering that he himself was kind of this innocuous gag comedy creator who became this prolific action shonen storyteller who influenced so many other people like Naruto, Fairy Tail, One Piece, Bleach. None of these series would necessarily exist without the framework that Akira Toriyama established, and it's really special to see that someone who was just kind of having fun telling silly stories has forever changed the shonen genre and will not be forgotten. Like, it's really been touching to see how many people have celebrated his life after his passing. Like, there was a worldwide, like, spirit bomb celebration where everyone was raising their hands, donating energy to him. Toonami did a big tribute to Akira Toriyama, and Toonami, like, is Cartoon Network's anime programming block, and Dragon Ball wasn't their only show, but, like, Dragon Ball really helped put Toonami on the map, which in turn helped bring a lot of other anime series to North America, like Gundam Wing and just so many other shows. So without Dragon Ball, even when Dragon Ball was done telling new stories, it was still one of the top rated shows on Toonami. It really helped that block survive and persevere over time. And Toriyama, too, he even did a lot of work in video games. Like, he designed the characters in Chrono Trigger, Blue Dragon, Dragon Quest, and so it's interesting, like Ben Schwartz, for instance, someone from, like, Parks and Rec, a real comedian, like the new voice of Sonic the Hedgehog, he posted this big tribute to Akira Toriyama because he was a big Chrono Trigger fan, and so it's really been touching to see that Toriyama's death has moved a lot of people that might have not even been anime and manga fans, that there's a whole video game crowd that he affected and has just really touched with the work that he's done. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens to Dragon Ball now that Toriyama's out of the picture. Toyotaro is going to continue the series on, but it's unclear if it's going to run indefinitely or if he's just going to kind of wrap up the existing plot threads that Toriyama set up. And it's just the true loss of a legend. Like, I remember running around my backyard with my brother trying to do Kamehamehas, or truly believing that we could conjure ki and become a Super Saiyan, and I don't think this was an experience that was unique to us. Like, kids all over the world were doing this, and it's just really special that someone like Akira Toriyama could make us believe to that degree, that he would tell these great stories, but at the end of the day, he was really just inspiring people to think that they could do unbelievable things. And that's such a special trait that sometimes gets lost in anime, in manga, and he was just one of a kind, and the industry is definitely feeling his loss, but it will be very exciting to see what comes next, and if people can pick up that mantle, and how the world will get by without Akira Toriyama in it anymore. So, Akira Toriyama, thank you for everything you've done. You are truly one of the greats.